I'm so sorry. Now can you hear me? Okay. Great, thank you so much. Sorry about that. I was talking away. Just saying thank you. Grateful that you're here tonight and joining us for this conversation. I'd like to introduce to you Cheryl Butkus, who is the chair of our new member committee of the Diocesan Catholic School Board. And this is a fairly new committee for us as well, because we discovered a few years ago the pattern that we see on boards, which is you get to about April, even maybe March, proactive boards, and say, who's rolling off this year? And you take a look at your roster, if you've got that together, and you realize, oh my goodness, we're losing 3 members. Does anyone know anybody? Right? And then you look for a willing body. And Cheryl's going to talk about the importance of looking for the right person. So, Cheryl.
All right, well, thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here to meet all of you. I'm going to go ahead and try to share. Oh,
You're already sharing.
I'm sharing.
Yeah, you're already sharing.
All right, so I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm looking forward to really just conducting this as an open conversation and exchange. The last time we did this, we found that really worked well. As Dave said, what frequently transpires is we wait until someplace, in any board I've been involved with, we wait until the very end. It's not a topic that even once incorporated to our ongoing meeting, because it's too much work and we just, everybody's already maxed and spread like butter. And then what happens is we go back to the people we know, and it's always the same people we know, and we say, could we just diverge you and spread you a little more like butter, maybe a very thin butter over here, and could you manage this for us? So what we'd like to do is talk about, we're going to use this sort of as a case study, what we've done and how we are trying to manage this in a way that we place to mission, right? Rather than place to a body and the spot, or the best we got. So a couple of things that I just want to start with, and is the position purpose. And this is on our diocesan website, and I'll just link it, share it with you. So
You go to some of the resources on the diocesan website. Some of them have proprietary materials. So the password is board.
right,
It's board.
board.
So
As in school board, or I'm really bored?
cool.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yes.
You can do board, and it won't.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to share is what you will find at the diocesan website. So first of all, let me just encourage you that there's a plethora of information on the website, and it's very, very transparent. You just have to poke around, and we can go in there and take a look. But there's a lot of information in there for resources, best practices, just some other things that you might want to become familiar with and use as you go forward. But let's stay focused on the committee on board members and what is the purpose of this. So we're just going to quickly kind of work our way down. This is all very eloquently stated, and we have all of that information, and we have best practices we can share with you. And Dave and I have discussed this, and you know what? We took that all out of the presentation. We can send that to you if you want it. But the reality is that this position is supposed to offload some of the responsibility from the people this always falls on, and to get the right person in the right spot at the right time. So it is intended to create the process for recruiting new board members, And we're gonna talk up and to ensure the strength of the board and the ongoing perpetuation of the board, because, you know, boards I've sat on have been, you know, we talked about, well, they said, oh, we've got 3 people rolling off, you know, and we need to do more than fill the spot. We need to evaluate and fill to the right spot, or fill with the right person. And frankly, that doesn't have, you know, everybody has so many other things to do. And so, a couple of high level things that I want to point out though, and there's sort of some ideals that I'd like to present. And the first is transparency, and second is documentation. And I'm going to let you into my really very cluttered little world of my Google Documents and let you see everything that goes on in this existence. And the rationale behind the documentation is so that somebody else can continue and always pick up. So what I say is whatever, any employer I've ever been with, and I consider this to say, what I do doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the board, it belongs to the diocese. And as an employer, or as an employee, I always, you know, post that what I give you, you are buying. It is yours. Now, the knowledge I learn, I take with me, but the work product is yours. You know, so you get to do whatever you want with it. And so that's why Dave has access to everything I have. And I would encourage that first and foremost, that, you know, whatever you do, you document and you retain it in a way that it can be utilized. Too often when somebody goes, the information, the knowledge goes with it. It's like, you know, running a, you know, process, and all of a sudden there's no manual. So I would encourage that with any position, you know, that you're working with, but especially with this, because as we go through this, I think we'll find that a lot of this is not necessarily who you know, but who should you know. So the reason that the committee is important, or this committee or group or whoever, however we want to define this, it is important because we all know that there's a limited availability of resources, time and talent, that there's all sorts of challenges. This individual can specifically help to identify the board needs. I don't want to share, sorry. Good job. Thank you, Dave. So we're gonna talk about how we can identify board needs, how we identify immediate and future talent resources, how we will promote that perpetuation so that you can leverage the talents of your board members and your community, I want to point out, and your community to advance the mission and vision of your school. Okay? So what I'd like to do is walk you through just a general high-level concept of what this person can do for you. This individual can help identify the skill set requirements of a board member. Now, when we talk about that, very often we look for the individual who's available rather than the larger picture. So we'll talk about how do we look at skill sets, and what this individual also can communicate with school administration and your board to ensure that the skill set that is identified is complementary with the annual and strategic plan. They're going to compile and document resources for search. They're going to make recommendations for potential candidates, and they will help onboard new members, but they will never go out and find somebody and offer them a position. That's not their character. That's not their role. They will come back. They should come back. They should present to the chair, potentially to your entire board. I present to my superintendent, and I make recommendations. I don't find somebody and say, hey, would you like to come to this group? Okay, so it's important because there should be a process by which you do this, and it should be with your board, your administration, and with your pastor. One of the things that we do is we talk to the pastor, whoever, whatever parish this person is coming from. And we ask if they, would have any recommendations, if they have any concerns. And we do that before we even approach somebody about a position. And we do that because sometimes pastors have more knowledge about the bigger picture, about what's going on, or what is necessary, or how that person might be needed in some other way. We don't want to jump in front of any other planner or project, and we want to make sure that we've got all of the right players on board. You don't know what's going on always in somebody's life. We want to make sure that it's the right fit for the right business. So,
To jump into, it's just
Absolutely.
also an opportunity to make a connection with the pastor in a new way, right? There's someone from your parish that's going to be benefiting. And some of you, it's our parish, right? This person from our parish, Father, how do you know them? What would you feel about them being on board? What are their skills and talents? And it's just a common courtesy too.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't create expectations of an individual when you're out there, looking at, people and consider, you don't have expectations and they don't have expectations and nobody's let down in that way, because we don't ever want anybody to feel let down. I mean, there are lots of reasons that people have, resistance or, we don't want this to be one of them ever. You don't want to feel, they feel like this. Let's talk a little bit about just the identification of skill sets. There's a, you can find, I'll take you eventually to my site, I Google that, and you'll see there are just, more ways to do skill set analysis. Anybody. So, what we have done is, and I'm going to walk you through kind of our experience, a more recent experience, sort of as a case study. So, we have a marketing position that is currently we need to fill, and it was an early term. It was an early resignation for really good reasons. But other than we tried to get things to do, and so what we decided to do was we talked to people who were involved in this. And we looked at what are you working on, basic roles? What about your strategic? We looked at all of the reporting to that about what were they moving toward? Who did they work with? And this is really important. So within at the diocesan level, this marketing, we have a staff marketing individual. And so it was great knowledge for me to say, what do you need? What kind of resource do we need to bring to you so that you can achieve your goals? What are your goals? Et cetera. So we had a lot of discussions, and we talked to a bunch of different people about that. And essentially, what I am going to always recommend is that rather than making those types of decisions, in a vacuum, go out and talk to the people who are doing the work. So talk to your administrative staff. Who's managing? If it's marketing, who at your school is managing marketing? Who are they talking? Talk to us, because our folks talk to your folks about their marketing. Last year I had the chance to be in every school. Last year it was bad. It was a great experience. First, I'm going to tell you that there was not a school I went to where somebody did not go to door. Well done, really well done. It was impressive, and if you want my opinion of marketing, I always say I'd dress those kids up and take them down to the next parish because you know what, there's nothing better than looking at a bunch of first graders sitting together. I just think, oh, they are just fabulous. But so talk to your folks, talk to your school, talk to your principal, talk to the administrators. Who's managing in your case? For using marketing as an example, who's managing? How is that getting done? How does that look like? Who are your resources? What's the overall plan? And so, and what you can do is you can make sure whoever you are seeking compliments, or you can know if there is a plan. And maybe what you might need, I mean, some of our schools are maybe they need someone to help make. I don't know. I mean, I have no way of knowing, but I'm just saying, if you ask questions, you'll be surprised at the answers you get. So the answers we compiled, and we put together sort of something. Actually, what we did was we worked with the job description of that individual who's doing that job now, and we put together an overview of what that skill set should be to help complement that individual. So ideally, what you want to do is you want to compile and document your resources. And again, we make recommendations to the board. We don't make those decisions. All I do is I make recommendations to the board. And I've made recommendations to Dave, and he said, I'm like, wait a minute. So it really is. It's not up to one individual. It's a group decision and effort. And all my job is to go out there and find options. Ideas or questions or anything so far?
Cheryl, is that person someone sitting on the board currently? Like in the case of a school, the person who's looking for this talent, is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, I'm suggesting that you create a position that's all they do. That's all they do. And that's, and I might get an odd something, or someone, Dave might say, we need someone to do blah, blah, blah. And so I'll do that because I might not have anything going on or actively going on. But what we do, we look well in advance and we bring it to the board well in advance and once a year, and we say, and these are in our best practices. We say, this is the time we're going to look at this. I've got so many people, turning off. How are we going to handle this? Anybody have any recommendations? But nobody has any expectations that that's going to be decided right then. What it means is that we're going to look at it. Yeah.
So that person has the roster, so to speak, of all the term limits, everything's looking at that, and then they're the ones who are, it's kind of like the reminder to the group, hey, we've got these spots coming up.
Absolutely, that's what it is. Let's take a look at what my world looks like. So this is, this is the board roster, and this is our board roster. Our diocesan board roster. So you see my highlighting, methodology, and there's a craziness to it. So, I'm looking at current terms, what's been done, who are they, where are they at, how can they do another term? what kind of time do I have? And then, so this is an old roster. So for instance, Sister Rosita turned off. We spent time deciding what were the qualities of the individual that we wanted to bring on to initial effectiveness. And, you know, that's a hard call because there's a lot of work in that. So what we were able to do was have Sister Rosita solve this herself. So I said, let's have Sister talk with you. And Sister Rosita and her replacement, Sister Colleen, sat down, and I had a Google Meet, and we sat down and we talked about what are you doing? You know, what does your committee look like, Sister Rosita? How do you manage this? You know, so let's look at your committee. How much work is this? We knew we wanted Sister Colleen. But we had to tell Sister Colleen on the concept of coming in to do this amount of work. And trying to be honest with people. You know, people say, how much time do you spend? And I spend, you know, probably 4 or 5 hours a month maybe, but that's only because I just I love to talk on the phone. I'll call you. Do you know this? So that's going to be our next case study because you know, that's part of what this position is going to be. We want to be a resource as well. So, you know, we can do that. And the same, you know, like our marketing. When I say, do you want to know what your marketing folks are doing, your marketing administration within a server? They give a call to a marketing folks. See what's going on. You know, it all, or they might have insight. So, yes. So this is what our, this is the current roster, this person. And then here is the lovely prospective member tab. See your name on here, don't unscreen it. And yes, I do. There, I keep a long list of people that I think the back one too. And these are past members and who they are, what they, you know, their contact, et cetera. So one of the very important things that I would suggest is that you start with current board roster and have all the contact information because I am surprised that, you know, it's possible that you don't have all the contact information, and you also need to make sure you have all the committee information because very often there are committee members there are committee or people on the committee that you're not aware of, or you know they are not being maybe groomed for succession. You know, you want to make it as easy as possible for yourself. You want to have all the resources you can. Questions?
Can somebody mute Mark W, please?
Well, I was just thinking about what you, when you said secession, do you as that person also help to assist in that? As far as saying, because you know, you want someone who's been sitting on the board for a while before they step into the new leadership or whoever your board chair is or whatever that might be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, and it depends on the committee, it depends on what the rules are, and, you know, sometimes, or it depends on the individuals on the committee. There might be 2 or 3 individuals that you know that you want to incorporate them in a way in the future. So, yeah. I have a couple of people that I invite to these types of things just because I want to maybe have them available at some point in time. You know, none of this is secret, you know, and it's all, we post our minutes and stuff, so it's not, unless it's an executive session, it's not secret information, and sometimes people just need to see it in action, you know, or maybe they see the value and of this and bring.
I have a question. So when you refer to committee, you're talking about us as the member chair of our board and then our committee.
Correct. That
Okay.
is correct. So you would have a committee, marketing, as a chair and then committee. And those are the people who, the committee is the group who does a lot of the greater detail work. And then if they report back and the committee chair brings that back to the board. So you folks then don't always have to have everybody come to the board. I mean, it's just a matter of managing resources and responsibilities of who's going to do what.
And how many committee members is expected?
Well, it depends on the specific committee. So what we have here we have people who are board chairs. We have, in this group right now, we have folks who are not new member, committee chairs. So on your committee, I would suggest that you really need one person. In my committee, I have one person and then I've got a backup. And my one person is, as I told Dave, my one person is somebody that I can shoot this off to and say, what do you think? And she'll call me and say, that makes sense. Or it's fine, just it's ugly. Or, you need to get this in front of a marketing person because this is hideous. Nobody's want to look at this. I mean, or, hey, did you talk to there's someone, so what about this? So in my world, my community is the diocese. In your world, your community is your parish and any other parish that is feeding into your school. Very important concept. So let's talk just a little bit about Ted and I. So Ted and I have spoken and Ted is new to this session. I'm gonna, before I do this, I'm gonna go back and I think I've got one more. Okay, let me just finish up on the marketing concept. See, you there? Thank you.
It's okay. It's hard to do what you're doing.
Well, I noticed that I look funky, there I am. All right, that's
You
okay.
can't look at that.
No, we just gotta keep going, man. All right, so this is what we're working on right now. So these are folks that, Jennifer, there you are.
Brittany?
There you are. Okay, so when we put together this concept of, what does the marketing position look like? And I will show you that eventually. But once we figured out what that marketing person looks like, or what skill set should be of a marketing person, then we decided who do we need to talk to? Not who has those skills, but who do I need to talk to? Because I don't know. I'm not even from here. I'm from the west side or the east side of the state. I moved here a couple of years ago, and that was one of the things. I mean, I came here to be next to my grandkids, and that was one of the things that, when I'm seeing, no, but I don't, that's energy. Right, Jennifer? Okay, so, I put together then a resource list of who do I need to know? Who can help me with that? So, what you don't see on here is, and I look at all sorts of different things, and I do what I call, it seems a little creepy, but I do background information. So I like to see who I'm reaching out to. So I found Jennifer Crowley and put her on my list long before I had any idea she was affiliated with Catholic Central. And I look at who do I want to know and who. Not that I want these individuals, but are these people who can help connect me with the right people? So in a smaller community, or in a, not trying to go like all over this side of the state. So I also reached out to, folks that I thought might be able to help give us some ideas from underrepresented, demographics in our community. I mean, big ideas here, I can't just have women on this committee, because I know them and I've had coffee with them. I need to know what is the composition of my committee or of my board. Do I have too many, parents on the board? Do I only have parents on the board? Are my parents, up to here, but they can't do anything more? Do we need representation maybe from another parish? Maybe not just our feeder parish. Where else are those kids coming from? Where do you want them to come from? In my case, I'm looking on the west side of the state. I'm like, now that we can, we don't all have to drive here. Why can't I get somebody from,
Who's that, as a new member committee chair, one of the great values you can bring to your principal, to president, to leader, school leader, is this, right? Going out and sourcing who are the people in our area who have the skills that are listed on the list that we've come up with that we need for this position. And as Cheryl has said to me, I look at the list and I think, well, some of those people, we probably would not ask to be on board for one reason or another. We don't know them, maybe they're not Catholic, maybe, but they're people that you can have a conversation with to find out who they know.
Exactly.
And Cheryl is so good at just constantly getting to the layers of people who know each other, who have skills, and getting them on a list. And that allows us to start thinking about possibilities. I was so excited when I saw this list, when Cheryl shared it with me, because Jen's name was on it. And I know Jen does this work really, really well.
Right.
Right. And I was like, wait, Jen's already on board. We can't necessarily ask her right now.
Right.
Too.
And I said, I get the impression that she's Catholic. I did. That's what I said today. I said, I know. Yes.
And then Marianne Sabo. Sabo Marketing is a place we've worked with in the past. We've worked with Marianne on some projects, and I'm like, wow, that's great. I'm glad to see her. It was exciting to see the work that Cheryl had done behind the scenes that wasn't around the board, and those who was really in town, who are the people we need to talk to.
Right. And I don't know, none of these people, these are, folks that are probably not, interested in serving at the board because they have businesses. Or maybe, but they have businesses and on and on. But I gotta tell you that the communication that comes out of this. So, one of these folks, I had a great, details. This is where it's like that thing.
I'm just so relieved right now that my personal information is up there, and it's not like, she was short on the phone. Not very nice.
That's the next thing.
I know, Cheryl, I'm very nervous right now.
Oh, no, and I'm not gonna keep this shared, just so you know. This is the only
It's
person.
really fine, you guys can look me up.
Yeah, well, and that's what I do, and that's what, I know it sounds a little weird, but I do that because, yeah, well, you find out all sorts of things, and what are they committed to, and how big is your staff, and who do you know, and who do you do work for, and these people, this person, I don't even know how I found it. But, people all about technology. Woo, and I haven't talked to them. This gal finds out that she goes to my parish. I had no idea. So I talked to her on the phone, and I'm putting in your where do you go to school? What are the things that I need to know about you? And it's not that I'm never going to bring that up, obviously, but I just think it's worthwhile to do. And because I'm asking these people to look at stuff and to tell me what they think. So, this individual here, it turns out, she is, when I was researching her. I don't think I sent a message out to my pastor and said, "We're not gonna believe this. This is a lady who has seen those additional notes." And and you'll see here, okay to contact. I didn't contact anybody until I talked to him. Do you mind if I
It
talk?
was okay to contact you.
Yeah. I'm just really nervous right now. No, I wouldn't have, but I don't throw it all out, I'm just saying, this is who I'm gonna contact right now. And part of the reason that, I just want buy-in is all. And it's just an email and I just want buy-in because I don't wanna set, expectations, et cetera, but it's just building a network of people for this. So this individual, I sent an email that I was talking about, I sent an email when I was looking for her. She put it was the most wonderful thing. There was an article about her, she established, her parents were not available, they were far away. She established a relationship, she put an ad in the back of the bulletin asking for grandparents for her kids. She interviewed people, she got a set of grandparents, and they are still their grandparents. Those people have done everything of those kids, the kids are all adults, and I was so impressed with that. And I sent that on to our priest and said, "Hey, I'm trying to get to meet this woman. Did you ever read about this? Because I'm always on Dave and everybody about, you got a whole bunch, I go to First Friday, there's nothing but old people. And I'm like, there's a whole bunch of grandmas in there that can hold, a baby. Do you remember those days? You just think, I need a baby. Right? So anyway, I just was so impressed by that. So the discussion that I had with her morphed into what do we need to be doing in our parish? Just great ideas. Our parish doesn't have a school, but that doesn't mean, and her thought was, well, why aren't all of our kids going to parochial school? Well, where do you want to, how are you going to do? What are you going to do to support that? Really good to get people who are established, get them thinking. So when I say your community, don't think just your parish. Think about who you want, who's under, who's not properly represented demographically. What is your strategic plan about? Are you meeting those objectives? What should they be? Do you have it all right now? Where you gonna go? Whatever this person is, that you're trying to place, how are they helping get there? So, questions on this 2-3-D2? I know, that's, John, sorry. I know, you about there. I know.
Here's an odd question. Does any of these, they required to be Catholic in good standing? Is that is the
90%.
okay.
90%. According to bylaws, 90%.
Okay.
So we always leave room for a member, basically, who may be, in your community, like if you have a need, you need a marketing person, and you have gone through everybody you know of in the whole school community and the parish community, and just nobody seems to know anyone. But there's someone in your local community that loves your school. And, it could be someone who works at the bank that your school uses. It could be someone who, usually not the bank, but, but not the banker. But, it could be any community organization, and someone is there and their organization encourages them to volunteer, do these sort of things. And so we always leave room in case there's someone that we want your board to be loaded with people that have skill and talent that you don't hire at the school. All those other things, because that's what your school's missing, those expertise. And that's not just who people know. On the board.
I would just recommend, I don't know what the makeup of all of your schools are, who are at Corpus Christi, who are really diverse. And so if you have any underrepresented communities, try to find, 1 or 2 people that are really, really involved and peg them for this. And maybe they're not the chair, but get them involved in some way. Because there are always 2 or 3 people that know everybody in a certain community and can tell you much better than if we were just sitting around what different would be good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things David brought up, and Carol, for collecting, number of people doing I met a woman that I just struck me. She was so on the ball. And I wrote her name down and went back like 3 months later because I thought, she's somebody I won't know. Even if I just have her on a list, somebody in the future, I don't know what it's gonna be, but she was on the ball. And so, you know, it's really, it's just all I am is going around and eating lunch and calling people, and I tell my husband it's gonna be expensive.
I've had 2 other boards, and I'll just share some practices from there, because it's very consistent with what you're sharing. One board that I'm on, their list of like that perspective list is about 4 times the size of whatever the board slate needs to be. So if you have 3 people rolling up, they're generally looking at a list of like 15 plus. So again, it's like some maybe are not right now, and you know, not everybody like in that discussion, but it's and then a different board I'm on. This work is led by the immediate past chair. It's kind of like their last sort of nominal board gift sometime. And the committee is made up of a few people that are not on the board at all, that are just in the committee, and to your point of like represent maybe some different communities or perspective, or allow you to tap into different networks. It's always like that too, because you really get that, like, just not that echo chamber of only people on the board. Ooh, that gets hot. And it's kind of loud.
Gracious. Yes. I mean, not even just from, you know, specific communities.
Just think, I mean, that's bad.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that comes from, you know, some of these general discussions is your parish. You know, what Dave and I have discussed is that our time and talent surveys really, you know, I know that they are collected, but we have any influence on having that done on, you know, an annual basis and updated, or how do you get it done in dinner? If it's,
Searchable database,
yes.
who does what?
Who does what?
We had that at St. Thomas over there, and it was phenomenal. We
Right.
could actually search the database for people who work in the area of finance, right? And
Right.
list it then, just like that, in the parish. Start calling those people, it's amazing how they're interested.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's not just people who are, you know, right now, it is the time, because it's not just people whose kids are in Catholic school or went to Catholic school, but right now, I mean, we've got, our schools out there. So right now, people are losing one-time courses, you know, conceptually lending themselves to that, you know, that opportunity, you know, or giving to them. And it's a real opportunity for us. And not just within our small community, where do we want, you know, how does marketing support the, you know, pulling from or increasing admissions? You know, does this person need to have experience in campaign management, or does the person need to help marketing?
Hey, Mark's over here, shut the door. Sorry. Well, at least do that.
We're looking for, you know, because you know, and what he brings or needs to support that. And I would say that it's all about relationships. And it's not all time consuming, right? It's not all time consuming if you stay ahead of it and you've got somebody who's just, filling in the information and just putting it on the list. And again, it's transparent. My board, our chair, my superintendent, they have access to everything and I'm gonna show you. It's transparent and again, I don't make any decisions, I just kind of put it out there in front of. So, that's
I represent West Catholic, and we definitely need to do something more formal than that. And having somebody assign something, especially once you like senior, passes, we can wind them away without wanting to push around. So somebody else, it needs to be a little more formalized. That's president's job. That could be assigned to somebody else on the board.
well, to find a person, I guess what I would probably do is I'd recommend that you start at the desk. You talk to your president, you probably talk to, Dave, and then,
I'm starting to.
well, you talk,
He's kidding.
Yeah.
We recommend all boards find a person who is in the business of talent acquisition, right? Because I talk to companies all over the place who, they have somebody on their staff today that does, right? And so you have recruiters, you have talent acquisition specialists, you have HR people, all these people know how to do this kind of work. And I recommend that every board, you should have one of those on your board that heads, that's your chair of your new member committee. And all they do is source and resource new member possibilities to the board.
so what some ideas might be, and I agree, and maybe you already have someone in mind, or your president or, Dave might, because we've got a whole history of people who have done it and what they've done, but, some of the things that you might want to consider again, is what are your, maybe just, this is fluid, okay, so maybe in your case, with a new position, filling a new position, you want to look at what are the demographics that represent. Not that we need, to manage this by the demographics, but what are the demographics that you're missing? Where are you primarily pulling from? Where are your kids coming from? And start then looking at those talent databases at those branches.
Every time forward for that.
Yeah, so.
There's how much
That's
seven gets all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
We are, for one board, trying something new this year on the public health board. If our designated person right now is our vice chair. Because that person is kind of, at least in the moment, we're gonna try it for a year or so and see. But in our board setup, that person is kind of like the backup, right? They're the person in waiting, whereas like our treasurer person is running finance committee, or like everybody else who does other committee jobs. That person is support. And so we're trying right now with intention to make that a year-long effort. Call me back in spring. I'll let you know. So if you want to find the committee for that.
What
So
were you
I-
saying your vice chair does again?
well,
It's
right,
part of your committee?
we're saying that person is really the head of this committee. There isn't really a committee. We approved a strategic plan in the spring. So we had a little reorging of our committee.
So you're a
overall.
board, you are a board chairperson.
I'm the board chair.
Okay, got it.
And so our vice chair is sort of a person without
Okay,
a really good job description.
okay.
And so we said, let's have you spend this year kind of, consistent but low key effort doing exactly the things you said, like assess all the committee members, like let's look all the way through the committees, like how long have we had people? Do we have good distribution of skills? Are the committees well staffed? what does our board look like? We do it in a little chart. So you can kind of like see at a glance, are they term 1, year 1, term 1, year 2, that kind of thing. And then we're really in that sort of, I don't know, what would you call it? Like people cultivation stage. Like we're just talking to people, getting ideas, no action yet.
Right.
But the steps that you outlined is similar to our process. And I didn't feel like that was at odds, but we're trying to get this person. Well, that's what we're building right now. But we have like sort of a list of skills. And it was like based on the strategic plan and for sort of mixed with where we know people are rolling off stage. I'm not in any way presenting this like we've got it nailed. I'm just telling you, we're trying something new this
We
year.
actually have a very similar setup as well. Our VP also does hunting for us, so we don't have really another job, right?
Yeah, for that
So-
person, yeah.
It's kind of in the wings.
Right, and that's perfect. I mean, you got that availability. Now I know that now, Ted is new to this, role at St. Mary's Spring Lake. And so, in fact, we've had a couple of discussions now and, so it's interesting because folks are trying to define what is it that I'm supposed to do? You know, what, and let's face it, some of our smaller, schools, they might not even know what their core terms are. So we start very basically, not St. Mary's, but, it might be that, you gotta collect information. Some schools don't even know who's on their committees, or who the committee members are. And because only because they haven't collected it. And so it's really just collecting the information to begin with and then strategizing the timing of it. So in Ted's case, Ted and I talked about, well, what does this person do? You read this long job description and so today we just had the discussion on, I should have a committee and how many people are you looking to have on your committee? Well, I think I need 4. Well, what are they going to do? And well, because we think that we need 4 people, I said, I don't need 4 people. I need somebody who can be my wingman and tell me this is, don't do that, or this looks great. I need somebody to periodically help me with a don't share thing, how do you set up your Google Drive, those types of things. So what I told Ted was that, you've just done your first skills assessment, in a very kind of a nutshell way. I mean, you just assessed what do you need. And that isn't probably 4 people, it's probably 1 person who can pick up where you need assistance. So it doesn't have to be, high tech. It can be low tech and still be very effective, if you just ask enough questions. The other thing that we discussed was, what do you report? Well, I know my board doesn't want to hear everybody I talk to. I mean, I tell them, I would love to tell them, I'm that girl. But they don't want to know. But I report what, I've accomplished in the list one. And I talked to 4 different people, I've done this, I'm still looking at that, this is still in the wings, etc. And so Jen is somebody that I actually contacted her a while back and said, Jen, I need a marketing person. And I know it can't be you because you're already serving in the Catholic Central Board, but would you be willing to think about this? And so I sent her off a copy of the modified skill set and said, if you get a chance, take a look. I sent it out to a number of different people saying, I know everybody who's anybody. I've also sent it off to several priests who I know who have large parishes that probably could be engaged in a way that maybe their parish would like to, contribute, or maybe they wanna look at their, their, skills and talent resource base and have representation. So, we just we put together a list of people.
For those of you who are using your vice chair, I'm really interested to see how that turns out. You might consider really focusing their efforts on finding that person, right? On really looking in the community at who does that specific work, HR work or recruitment work or talent acquisition work. Because I think every year your vice chair will not necessarily be the person with the skills to continue to grow that list. But as you get started, it might be a good way to really give them something needed to do, and hopefully
Right.
they can talk to enough people that would be doing that. Because all I can tell you is I learned the hard way. Many, and as the principal or even as the superintendent for most years of my life, it was who do I know? How many relationships do I have? Who am I talking to? Right? Yeah. In trying to be that person, right? And then I had the experience of, I don't know if any of you know Mike Sachaki. Mike Sachaki, when his kids went through Assumption, and I think West Catholic. And he works for K-Force, and he was our board chair one year, and all of a sudden, we had board members coming out of our ears. Like he just had a whole list of people, and I knew what their skills were, and I realized, oh my gosh, it's amazing to have a board chair who's actually a recruiter, right? It knows what he's doing, and the fact that we could get all of these sort of best practices set up because he knew what he was doing made me realize we have, our board governance documents from 2011 when we studied boards and redesigned our boards of limited jurisdiction, and put all the training out there. Tell boards you should have a committee on new directors, right? But we never did because I thought, well, that was my job. And when I stopped working, I realized we needed to have more on our committee on new directors all the time. And so we've had that committee be done under Cheryl, and we recruited Cheryl specifically because she's one of these people that just networks and can get a list of people and knows people and finds out people who know people and put them on the list. And it's been great.
I love that. You're all going on this.
We did pass around the list.
I've seen the list. It isn't always who you know, it's who you need to. That's what, that's how I look at it.
Cheryl, do you ever do any other canvassing besides that, relationships and those types of, do you put out like solicit recommendations or put out like any of that type of thing?
And the reason I don't is because first I would clear that. And then the reason that I don't is because I don't want to have someone present themselves as a viable candidate and then maybe they are not. And my concern with that is that it cuts off a relationship that we might need at another time. And so someone's left feeling rejected and they didn't need to. So, but what I will do is do that privately. I don't put something out like in a bulletin, because I think you might end up with people that you maybe don't necessarily need at that moment.
Yeah.
And it's also highly effective. I tried it for years. That was one of the things we did sometimes when we ran out of list got short, put it in the bulletin. Well, again, you're having conversations sometimes with people that don't have the skill that you need and just want to have a say, right? And that's not the kind of person you want on the board. You want people on the board that are going to be productive and bring a professional skill that you don't have in your school community. So it's really looking at it more like we're interviewing board members before we ever ask them to come on the board. We will really seek the right talent.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So it's not as though, and I don't, actively go out and talk to individuals until they've been vetted and kind of go on about way. I mean, we talk to individuals and about, well, have you seen this? What do you think about that? Because I want to know what they think. And are they leaning toward, I mean, I've talked to different folks, on marketing, are they leaning to politically maybe for, where we want to, move this or if I just, and I don't, document all of that, but, like,
It's a lot of information there that you can get and look at, about people that might be potentially great people, that help you know whether or not they're actually.
right. And again, they might be the right person 2 terms down, the way. And what you might be looking for right now is back to marketing. What you're looking for now is this high level player because this is what you need, but in 3 years, what you need is somebody who does this, or you don't have that support, at the administration level. So you need somebody who is more capable of, can put together the, or give them the template for and help them, the fill in the blank for the communication.
The process for bringing on new board members isn't important. The bylaws say that every board will create. Most boards have. I can tell you a board that's created an excellent one is St. Thomas's board. I'm sure they would be willing to share it if it has. It's very detailed. But
is.
all the things that Cheryl said about not going out and offering people a position, steps that you might go through, talking to father, all of those things are included in that process so that you don't have to misstep. I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting in a board meeting, visiting a board, and so-and-so was at the board meeting for the first time because the chair went out and asked them to be on the board, and now they're on the board. And the pastor is supposed to be appointing them, and there's another issue, and they don't find out until it's too late.
And St. Thomas actually allowed us to share that. We shared that in
Oh, we did our
session. Yeah, so if anybody is interested in that, I mean, it's very detailed and it was really well done. And it really impacted all of those types of issues because really want to make sure that, you're getting the right person at the right time. The other thing is the, part of this position deals with orientation and onboarding. And I can't tell you how many people, we come across who don't even know what their position is. So, or what their role is going to be, or how does that look? And so, one of the things, again, Ted, you already defined or created your onboarding process. Your process should be defined. What does it look like? Who's responsible? Everybody's got a part. So I think you've already done that. So when I talked to you, I said, well, have you reviewed your strategic plan? Yes. Have you reviewed your position, detail? Yes. How does this work with that? Where did you review this? Have you done anything that, and you have, you've done the onboarding presentation that Dave conducts. And those things are available on the ISSN website, et cetera. How you make that stuff available, you make a comment to everybody, that they're going to be interacting with. Maybe they need a 15-minute discussion with the current people. This is what I'm doing, this is what I agree. It's really hard to read through minutes and say, this is, it's hard to go in and read minutes. I don't read minutes. 40 minutes. Sorry. And they're great minutes. minutes, you know? They really, really are. They are very well done, but it's just my aversion to minutes. And so, just another, idea. But, you know, Ken, you are, and so the selection was right, you know, because you're telling me, I want to do this right, blah, 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 it's like what you want. You know, you've already done, you've self-imposed on yourself the whole orientation process, which is what everybody else should be walked through. You know, so they can get on. But that's another step of this position.
How were you all on board? I'm just interested, curious. Since we're talking about it in this committee, that's part of the responsibility is onboarding. Do you have a good onboarding experience?
Yeah, I think with ours, it tends to be whoever's standing on. The person who's leading doesn't just that, you know, or something that Brenda request Brenda. So Brenda, you know, got together and really talked about what these documents are, their react those processes. And this is what's expected as we move forward. So, and then on the, within the committees, the chair brings a new person up to speed.
So you're bringing directly from your committees though. You're promoting and perpetuating from your committees.
No, this one, like our strategic plan, that changeover happened even this past May. And, you know, there's a very well orchestrated handoff.
Excellent.
Yeah, and right now we have, our finance person doesn't have to be a CPA. We had somebody, our notes person, has been on the board for, has done both the notes for ages. And, she's like, I have to tell you, he's our best finance person that we've ever had, and he's construction management, he's project manager. Right, but he has a hand, I mean, you know, best handle on the budgeting and being able to communicate it and track it, all of those things. And, so, he now has somebody, coming in that he's grooming to take that position. So we, going off the board soon. But he's gonna have, Cheryl's gonna have a couple of years under her belt, knowing that she will be stepping into that chair position. So we've been really fortunate to know.
Yeah, that is great.
It's probably really a best practice, right? Taking the current chair and having to recruit the next chair, right? Sometimes that's within the committee, but sometimes it's not on the committee, it's someone outside.
It wasn't necessarily they didn't do the recruiting, but they're doing the onboarding. And, you know, we're a pretty isolated community in Portland, they're just in Portland. So, our folks are still around.
Right.
You know, I mean, they're just not coming to the meeting anymore, but you still see them and they're still. Right. With us all available. Yeah, so any of those questions. That's one of the things that we've done. You know, it's probably, you know, more formal that we need to. But, you know, there's information overload too. It's like we can just have the right information at the right time instead of just full of the information that they, you know, look at because there's a binder.
Oh, yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and certainly best practice for onboarding, make sure that every new board member has a copy of the files, right? You want to make sure that they've got a chance to read those and understand those. Make sure that every board member has a copy of the committee charges. So now you're going to be on X committee. There are committee charges that are on the website that you can grab and share with them, so that they're aware of the general responsibilities of my committee. We want them to watch or participate in the fundamentals session that we do for board members so they understand what a board limited jurisdiction is and how it works and what their responsibilities are. So those are some of the basic things, and then certainly what's the work the committee doing and how can I continue to move that forward. And of course, the agenda for every board is their strategic plan, right? It's what moves the board forward, is what's next in terms of the strategic. So those are critical elements I think that everyone should receive and be led through it in some way, shape, or form.
Let's just, while we're talking about, the school board, I'm gonna go ahead and share this, or the assets and resources. I'm gonna just quickly share this tab. So this is, this particular site has a lot of great information, and it is all available, and it helps with transparency. But now as you work your way down, and these are our meeting minutes, and I'm sure that on agendas, I'm sure that yours are posted somehow as well. And there I am, not available on the website. They made me take a picture.
We got her picture today, finally. 2 years of trying to get her picture. We finally got her picture for the
I know,
presentation.
because I put on makeup once a year. Honestly, an old parish priest came to one of these like last year and came up and looked at me and went. And I said, Father, and he's like, I said, you've never seen me like that. It's like, wow. So, but as you work your way down, these are some of the onboarding, planning, videos that you really, they're fabulous. And they talk about, it's an opportunity to use some established, information for onboarding.
And that first sheet is called important training instructions is, if you give that to a new board member, they can then access all of this information. And also you'll notice there's a video and a PDF for each of those committees, right? In different committees. So it's good basic information. People will say, oh, it's old, it's 2011. No. Catholic school boards, among Catholic school boards, boards of limited jurisdiction are the innovative practice. Catholic school boards go back some time, and this is innovative, what we're doing. So 2011 is not old in terms of Catholic school boards. It's actually new and still is among some of the newest materials. So don't let that throw you off. It's really good stuff, and it will lead you to a bunch of good and best practices.
I actually sat in on your new board members training, the fundamentals, the presentation, and I was really impressed with the knowledge. I was impressed with it. It was insightful to see the questions that folks were asking. How do they? How do I report? What am I supposed to report? I mean, these are things that would, we should be helping folks understand what are the expectations, how do I want to help us improve the state and et cetera. So it was a great all right, so I am going to kind of take us around and just see if I've included my information here, and I'm happy to at any time help. And if you have, if I can help in any way, but let's kind of open it up. Oh my gosh, see, I cannot be trusted with a computer. My husband says, "Did you download it to a wire?" I just said, I don't know.
So we'll share out both the recording and the presentation in email, and with forward that shared Jen here.
That info's coming. I'm taking this.
Oh, it's totally fine. I don't literally know that at parents.
Those links, if anyone else tried to open those links anyway, they wouldn't have permission to do it.
They
So
would be.
I was just teasing.
Yeah. I just, wanted to, I guess, just kind of put out there what it looks like in my world.
Yeah, no, I love that, actually, that's great.
Anybody, anything that we can answer questions or talk about, or anything else?
Is there somebody here from St. Thomas Parish that has such a great recruiting template?
Just go like that.
Pardon me?
Just go like that.
Oh, it's
Not
you?
sure. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
hi.
That's your guy right there. It's fabulous work. They did a great job. And they did, St. Thomas did tell us that we could share it, so I have that if you'd like.
Oh, you have it.
I do have.
You have my email now. Would you send me that?
I will.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if you shared that.
Okay. Yeah, they were very thorough. It was
Yes.
a great job.
And, potentially written by an attorney, so, it's really well thought through.
Yeah.
No pieces missing, but it's really good process, so.
Right. Brian, is it something that, has, has it been effective for you folks? And
It's helped us to make sure that we don't get into, like Dave was, that we don't get into a spot where someone comes before the board and it hasn't been checked with father, and maybe father knew something that we didn't know, or that type of thing, because there have been people that have been put forward that we couldn't go to
right.
because of that.
Good, yeah, it was very, very well done, and so, I will, I'll make sure that I'll get that off to,
Great.
you know,
You could attach it to the follow-up email that'll have all the presentations from tonight. That were recorded, all of them are recorded, and the presentations as well, so that you can get.
anything, questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry, about I feel like it's been like trying to pull teeth to ask anybody. And I was wondering if anybody else has that kind of luck with asking people, like say you've vetted somebody and maybe the father has approved, like, yeah, go ahead and ask that person. And I hit roadblock after roadblock. And it's usually just me trying to ask somebody, or even within our board, asking anybody. And it's like always a no. And I don't know if it's, it's mostly people within our parish. And I feel like it's a rather small pool. We have a pretty small country parish, but everybody is busy with their lives and nobody's interested in joining board.
Right.
And spending more time, especially in they feel like if they don't have a vested interest as in their children don't go to that school, which we need to have more people that aren't parents on our board. Like it's literally, well, I guess maybe 80% parents. And we have a very small board. There's no room for extra committees or anything. Like we're spread as thin as possible.
Right.
And we can't even feel building and grounds. But I feel like every time I ask somebody, they don't even necessarily consider it.
So who are you asking? Are you asking more of the same people?
I get some people within the parish that would have a good background in building and grounds. Or I'm asking pretty much anybody that I feel would consider the position. It would be a no. Yeah.
Are you, let me, if I could just ask, are you, in your school, does it pull from more than one parish?
We have 3 parishes, 2
And,
campuses.
Okay. I'm trying to remember.
Yep, it's up in Ravenna,
Okay.
Conklin,
So
and
it's very small.
very small. Yep.
Yeah. So is it,
And I don't need to have it be specific to our school or anything. I just wonder if anybody else hits that immediate
Yes.
roadblock.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Every
it's-
rural
yeah.
community, every rural community,
Yeah.
yes,
Well,
absolutely.
and the tough part is
And I
the
don't
same
really
people
know.
get tapped,
Yeah,
I mean, even in ours, they're like.
or literally every parent has already been maxed out to be on this HSA board or anything else. So all the parents are
They're on
already
the
set.
auction committee and they've already done the.
And
their-
I've done
Yeah,
my
yeah.
time is what everybody
And
says.
they've got parent fatigue on top.
And the grandparents are like, I've done my time times two, you know, and it's just,
And I think
very,
on top of that,
that's very frustrating.
this pandemic, I think people are just hesitant to.
That's- That's
Yeah.
also true.
I feel like it was an honor to be asked on the board, but I don't feel that very many people have that same opinion. So,
But we
And
need to
thank you
find
for
some
me
more
to come
people.
back, because we were all that bag of chips. I mean, 3 kids and when, my youngest one graduated and we had all the notes and all the whatever and passed the baton and had everybody ready and off we went. And, our daughter, people were running and like, wow, I haven't seen your folks around, because, our kids weren't even satisfied being 3 sport athletes. Let's like, double sport, let's do it, let's do softball and track. Yeah.
Those distributors are involved.
Yeah, and to make sure you like, hey, school play, we can do that too, they did it. So then they were like, well, your parents do. Rochelle's in my youngest laugh, she's like, you really argue now. Your parents argue, like, I've never seen it. They're like, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? We've never like made a decision. But now it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And somebody really tapped me and at first I'm like, it's kind of like chilling. And I got drawn back in, and then it was the president thing, was supposed to be my daughter, but oops, she became the JV softball coach, and that turned into, was a volunteer position that turned into a paid position. Wow, she can't do that, so El Presidente I am, so, and now it's working in a way that I did appreciate being the consultant role for a little while, and now, I'm the president, and I'll commit to that for 3 years. But it was a slow drawback, because at first I was like, just finally after, 3 kids and doing them all, and that we were able to take that deep breath, but now getting back into it. I mean, if I'm not related to them, I don't know, well, some kids aren't. Well,
that it seems to be another very
But it
rural
just-
issue, like everybody's related to our principal. You can't be a voting member if you're related.
Oh.
So we have a lot of that, like everybody's related out there.
You kind of gotta get past the related. I mean, you can't,
What is the definition?
like,
It's immediate family.
Immediate family and in-laws, which that's a big family though.
It is a
They
big
have a
family.
big
it is,
family,
and how
and not
does,
to be that specific again, but yeah, we've
I mean, I
got,
came from a
that's
big
our
family, I have a,
flux.
I have a big giant family too, but it's like.
That is
Why did I
the
talk to my
family.
sister?
I wonder if you
Like, how do you, can you
Time and
Can you do the immediate family, like who lives in your household? Because, when you talk to most everyone
We
else
can
except for my
definitely make
doctor,
exceptions.
like I can't have, I've got, my oldest brother is 18 years older than me. So, my immediate family, rolled over with my niece today.
In-laws, yeah.
I wonder if you could bring some more people in just on a consultant basis, just to kind of do that and say, hey, release your feedback on this, just to kind of draw them into the meeting or draw them into the kind of community and just show them what you're up to. And then you could start having 3 or 4 people that are more visible at the school or, and know more what's going on.
Yeah,
That's what drew me back, because if somebody said, hey, hi, come be president.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't wanna
Done
overwhelm
that.
someone
Yeah.
by asking them to
Yeah.
yeah.
But, and then I
Yeah.
started in as, they needed to plan, so, and then early plan. Like, I was trying to be, totally meeting now, can't do another meeting, I see all day long, I never see before.
Yeah, I
But
feel like
it's, but we're back in slow.
We have to extend your community, because your school
Yeah.
is known all over the country. I don't know if you're aware of that, but your school is famous. You've been written up in several articles.
Yeah.
You've been written into a book now. And Jill Annabelle is now the president at West Catholic. She knows all kinds of people who are doing micro school work, and we just have to expand your community.
I think the networking thing.
Prior to Kate, right? We had Kendra and she worked with some folks at Notre Dame and we had board members from Notre Dame on your board. So we just have to expand your community because since the pandemic, they can join. And their
Yeah.
expertise still helps you and it will help you balance out the parent effect, right? Really getting
Oh,
people
yeah,
to
that's-
in the future.
I
Yeah,
have,
and they're tapped out also.
I have one other,
And alumni would be probably parents too.
well, I mean, outside the greater community. I mean, you know, we have people doing stuff for us that don't live in Portland.
So, and there's some benefit to that, just remember that all of a sudden you don't have. to-
Jen has an idea and she's got it
Oh,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, my last
Yeah.
thing is also, if you can make the function well.
Yeah.
It like lowers the load, and so also like getting that word out,
Efficiency.
like, I would just really ask them to do this, like, we can talk about it, expand. Like,
Yeah.
That person.
Yeah, I agree. That's what we did last year, was meetings. Or,
You,
you know, just not like,
Well, you know, like, I've heard another term that I always, as I feel, you said consult. Now, you don't pay positions and a higher position, but, and maybe what you need is someone outside of that community who can act just as a consultant,
yeah, I like that idea.
you know, for your building and grounds, or just as a resource. You know, so it doesn't have to be they come in every month. It can be they send you something and you bring it. I mean, it can be for a very specific need.
And because of your school's reputation, I don't have any doubt we can find people interested in the project
Yeah,
that love Catholic education and have expertise and would love to serve. So we just have to expand your community
Right.
outside of your 3 parishes to the West Michigan area and look for those people who would love to help you.
And that's ideal. I mean, that's really what it's about. You just really redefine your paradigm. What is your community?
I feel like, yeah, it's just like, I think our school has been just a part of our parish for so long that the parish just doesn't even, if there's like a sort of disconnect between the school and the parish. And we're always like, there's school kids that are always in the parish and it's around, but as the parish doesn't necessarily want to volunteer or be part of that board. As, you know, they may have been tapped out. So,
Yeah.
And
Well, and that's when you
Yeah,
got your
we'll
father
consider-
active in that process too.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
but it also gives you an opportunity. I mean, if you see it from the perspective of you've got everybody local, everybody, you know, and somebody will step up. But if you don't, if you brought somebody in from outside of that community, that might be an issue for you. But you, on the other hand, since somebody else wants to do it, you know, you might find you get some real movers and shakers that come in and bring some ideas.